Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Okay, excellent. And I'm wondering whether online participants can hear as well us. So if colleagues kindly you can confirm whether we have the virtual participants who will deliver the opening speech. And I welcome ladies and gentlemen at the FAO session here at the World Investment for my best to interpret that, to translate that to English. And then we have Saifullah Khan from the Vigilance Consulting Group. Next to Saifullah is Mansi Shah, who is a senior colleague from the Self-Employed Women's Association. And next to Ms. Mansi, we have Mr. Zayed, who is advisor to the Mauritanian Minister of Agriculture. Mr. Zayed will speak as well in French. Next to Mr. Zayed, we have Nadine Gbossa from IFAD, director from IFAD. And next to him, we have as well the Organization of Islamic Food Securities representative. We welcome him as well. And then we have Matthias Trauber from Boston Consulting Group. So I welcome panelists, and I would like to ask Mr. Dominique Bourgeon to deliver his opening speech for this session. So if colleagues, yes, it's not there yet?
Yes, I'm there, Tamas. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Bourgeon. So I think, yes, please start your opening remark. I would like to ask you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tamas. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by extending a warm welcome to each one of you participating in this important discussion. Today we will delve into the pressing topic of technology and innovation to increase resilience and support climate change adaptation and mitigation. This topic that requires collective attention, collaboration and swift action is at the very heart of this year's Science and Innovation Forum held this week in Rome on the theme of Science and Innovation for Climate Action. Currently, our world faces unprecedented challenges related to climate change, from the devastating impact of extreme weather events to the relentless rise of sea levels, the alarming loss of biodiversity, and the depletion of our precious natural resources. Compounded with other challenges, the volatile climate events further threaten the efforts to ensure global food security, eradicate poverty, and achieve the SDGs. Unfortunately, as you all know, we are not on track to achieve zero hunger by 2030. According to the latest edition of the FAO flagship, The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World, the proportion of the world population facing chronic hunger in 2022 was about 9.2%, compared to 7.9% in 2015. And almost 600 million people will still be chronically undernourished by 2030. While agriculture is affected by climate, it is a significant driver of climate change, accounting for almost a quarter of greenhouse gas emissions. As a matter of fact, the OECD FAO outlook for the period 22-31 estimated that average global agricultural productivity would need to increase by 28% over the next decade to achieve the zero hunger target, while simultaneously keeping agricultural emissions on track to reach the Paris Agreement targets. Given this context, harnessing technology and innovation is key for transforming the agri-food systems so they become more resilient, more efficient, sustainable and inclusive for better production, better nutrition, better environment and a better life leaving no one behind. In particular, it is clear that technologies and innovation practices and approaches can accelerate climate action. For instance, renewable energy technologies, the ability to harness solar and wind power by reducing our dependence on fossil fuels not only offers environmental respite, but also creates opportunities for sustainable development and economic growth. Precision agriculture empowers farmers to optimize resource usage, minimize waste, and enhance crop yields while adapting to changing climate patterns. Carbon capture through photosynthesis and resulting soil organic matter curbs greenhouse gas emissions while contributing to soil health and the resilience of agri-food systems. Using multiple data sources to understand vulnerabilities and risks related to climate change can inform evidence-based climate action and investments. Satellite remote sensing, mobile data collection, and tools to monitor climate parameters and share real-time information can be given as examples. Weather forecasts, including seasonal weather forecasts and early warning technologies, can help farmers to anticipate hazards before they turn into disaster and make better informed decisions, such as management of herds, of pest and disease, as well as on fertilizers and water usage. In addition, institutional innovations to accelerate climate action can help find synergies which trigger the transformation amongst different work streams and initiatives such as on biodiversity, water scarcity, land degradation, and deforestation. This can further help achieve multiple goals of international processes, including the Paris Agreement, the 2030 Agenda, the Convention on Biodiversity, among others. In the meantime, it should be recognized that addressing climate change through technology and innovation is a challenge that no single entity can tackle in isolation. It requires coherence, convergence, and collaboration among diverse sets of actors from governments, businesses, civil society, academia, and the scientific community. It is actually critical to forge partnerships, align interests, and pool resources to unlock the full potential of technology and innovation in the effort to address climate crisis. It is equally important to create an environment where research and development flourish, where startups and entrepreneurs find the support they need to innovate, and where governments provide the regulatory framework that fosters sustainability. While concluding, let me highlight that technology and innovation are a key component of FAO's work that are becoming increasingly important. There are two of the four accelerators in the FAO strategic framework through which we aim to support our members to achieve the SDGs. Through a transformation to more resilient, inclusive, sustainable and efficient agri-food system for better production, better nutrition, better environment and better life, leaving no one behind. In that context, in 2022, FAO Science and Innovation Strategy was adopted to strengthen science and evidence-based decision-making, support innovation and technology at regional and country level, as well as to serve members better by reinforcing FAO's own capacity. As a direct outcome of this strategy, I would like to flag to your attention the agri-food system Technologies and Innovation Outlook report, which is designed to level the playing field among countries and to provide information, data, and evidence to galvanize the adoption of technologies and innovation to increase productivity, efficiency, and sustainability across agri-food systems. I would like to thank you very much again for the invitation, and I wish you a fruitful deliberation today. Thank you, Tamas.
Thank you very much, Director, for delivering the opening speech. And I think you have highlighted excellent way the role of technology, what role it plays in the transformation of agri-food systems. And you referred as well to relevant FAO strategies that focus on that. So thank you very much. First, I would like to give the floor to Jonas on my left side, who will tell us about more about a special program of Côte d'Ivoire, which targets the cocoa production sector, and which would like to achieve cocoa production without deforestation, including to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in Côte d'Ivoire. So I give the floor to Jonas, and then I will try to do my best to do the translation for him.
Ok. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Vataï, de me donner la parole pour échanger avec les participants sur le projet promis. Je pense que vous avez déjà fait la présentation. C'est bon, hein? Voilà, ok, d'accord. Alors, je voudrais donc indiquer que dans le cadre de la lutte contre les changements climatiques, la restauration du couvert forestier et dans le cadre de la résilience des systèmes de production agricole, notre pays, la Côte d'Ivoire, s'est doté de plusieurs stratégies, parmi lesquelles la stratégie nationale RL+, qui a pour axe principal l'agriculture zéro déforestation.
Yes, so Côte d'Ivoire, can you hear me? I'm wondering whether you can hear me. Yes, some voice, please, on this microphone. It's okay? Okay. Jonas is responsible from the Premier project in Côte d'Ivoire, which aims promoting cocoa production without deforestation, as I mentioned. And its overall objective, the program, is to support the country's efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to strengthen the resilience of local population and to mitigate the effects of climate change. And especially the program is focusing on smallholder farmers.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Alors, la problématique de manière générale de ce projet est que les petits producteurs agricoles qui sont donc concernés par ces activités, ils sont généralement vulnérables aux effets du changement climatique. Et ces petits producteurs, ils ont des faibles revenus, ils ont un accès limité aux institutions bancaires et ils ont aussi des difficultés pour pouvoir donc établir la culture agroforestière. Et donc, évidemment, ces situations les mettent quand même en difficulté parce qu'ils n'arrivent pas donc à capitaliser sur les rendements financiers de l'agriculture durable et même aussi d'investir dans des activités de lutte contre des activités résilientes au climat.
Yes, and exactly, Jonas is speaking more about the challenges of smallholder farmers in Côte d'Ivoire, that they are lacking the knowledge, capacity, and expertise. Is not working. No. Better now? Is it better now? Okay. So Jonas has fleshed out more in details the challenges of smallholder farmers in Côte d'Ivoire, who are low income and who are rarely grouped into cooperatives, unorganized, and that increases the challenges. In addition, there are insecure land rights, and limited access to finances. So these are additional burdens on these smallholder farmers. And basically they lack the knowledge as well concerning the expertise in agroforestry cultivation to obtain climate resilient, deforestation free and quality cocoa.
Ok. Alors donc, le projet en termes d'innovation, donc le projet, donc pour intensifier ces différentes productions de cacao zéro déforestation et surtout assurer la durabilité des activités du projet, Nous collaborons avec les institutions de microfinance et nous collaborons aussi avec les associations qui donc investissent, qui travaillent donc dans ce domaine, dans le domaine donc des institutions micro-bancaires. Et pour cela aussi, nous renforçons les capacités des différentes coopératives que nous avons contribué à mettre en place afin que ceux-ci puissent produire des plans d'affaires bancables, hein, de sorte qu'on puisse établir des accords d'achat avec les entreprises de cacaoyers, les entreprises de production de cacao et aussi les institutions de microfinance.
Merci. And so he explains that basically the program Promir is targeting to strengthen the technical operation and the financial capacities of cooperatives, smallholder farmers, in order to increase the climate resilient, deforestation-free cocoa production. And for this, they are having as well innovative partnerships, which is very, very important, with cocoa companies, for example, and with microfinance institutions in Côte d'Ivoire. So it's a common effort, you know, to achieve these goals. And this program strengthens as well the cooperatives, their capacities, so that they can present bankable business plans to companies so that they can finance these projects, and they establish as well purchasing agreement with cocoa companies. And as I mentioned, they receive credits from microfinance institutions as well. Thank you very much, Jonas. I think this program highlights very much what can be done to increase the capacities of smallholder farmers, to tackle climate change, and what is the importance of multi-stakeholder approach, right, that you involve as well private companies, microfinance institutions in delivering these results. And FAO is supporting this project in Côte d'Ivoire. I would like to add to his intervention as well.
Okay.
Now, I would like to thank you very much,
Merci beaucoup.
Jonas. I would like to give the floor now the gentleman, the next gentleman. Sorry, I will go in the order of the sitting, so ladies will come as well. Saifullah, we developed with FAO a paper on regulatory framework of digital agriculture. And why this topic is interesting? Because we know that in tackling climate change, adaptation, and mitigation, the role of digital agriculture is very important all over the world, and including in the NANA region as well, which is having a lot of difficulties with water and scarce land resources. So it's very important to implement programs that aim to enhance digital agriculture, but for that, necessary regulatory frameworks should be in place that provide a legal framework for that. And Saifullah Khan developed a study on that, exactly exploring these digital legal frameworks in the Near East North Africa region. So Saifullah, if you could please kindly present, you know, the finding of that report in, I know in a short term, but short period.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for the opportunity. I would like to say that initially that we all understand and we all appreciate the fact that big data has indeed transformed agriculture landscape in a big way, and that has given a great value to all the stakeholders in the whole supply chain, and it's also ushering the development or transformation of traditional agriculture into digital agriculture. But with the innovation and with the use of technology, there are a lot of governance issues and challenges which have been faced and which are still being faced by not only countries in the NENA region, but globally. And what we have touched upon in the research study is the importance of regulatory framework, a comprehensive and a proper regulatory framework in place in the NENA region in order to make sure that all these development and innovation could bring value for all the stakeholders. Because there were certain very technical and legal issues involved. I will briefly touch upon like the issue of ownership of the data, who is the owner of the data, whether the farmer is the owner of the data or the supplier of technology, he's the owner of data, or the user who has finally used that data for specific purposes. One of the issues are how the value will be distributed to the whole supply chain, because the data has a different value at different stages of its processing. At the raw stage, the value is different. At the end user stage, after a lot of analytics, the value is different. So the question was how this value can be distributed throughout the supply chain. Likewise, there was another issue which we had faced during this whole research study while gathering information from different countries and from different international reports and statistics, was the privacy of the data. We have seen a lot of regulations recently on data protection, but that actually is more relevant and specifically to the individual's right, which we call in the legal terms a data subject, which is an individual. But we are talking about agriculture data. So we have not found any comprehensive privacy regulation which could regulate the agriculture data, and to make sure that any innovation, any transfer and processing of agricultural data would be processed or would be regulated in terms of the rights and obligations for the parties concerned. If we talk about the recommendations, I would very briefly touch upon a few of the recommendations which we have highlighted in our research study. One was the ownership. As I have discussed, it is a very severe and critical issue. So a proper regulatory framework is required to define the ownership of the agriculture data, that who is going to be the owner and what kind of rights would be given to that owner. One way could be having a different regulatory framework established for agriculture data, or maybe IP laws may be amended and they might be used in a way that can protect the rights of farmers. Because during the session, just the previous session in the same room, one of the madam who is part of the farmer association, she's sitting right in front of me, and she had a very good point that AI in control is threatening the farmers, because actually it is the farmers' data. The farmers are available at the land. They are generally the owner of the land. So how it is to be ensured that the farmer gets the proper right and the value of the data. The other recommendation was to have a properly regulatory framework to curtail the misuse of data, because if we see that there are certain technological suppliers who are very huge, quite huge, so by different terms of contract or the legal provisions they can use, and they can monopolize the use of that agricultural data for their own specific purpose and for their own customers and clients. So what is required to be done is to curtail that kind of a threat, and to have a certain provision, like maybe one suggestion we have recommended that we could use contracts in template formats, because the farmer is generally not very much aware of their laws and their regulations in the jurisdiction, especially international jurisdictions. And the templates could help the farmer in protecting his or her rights and giving a responsibility to those who are going to use that data. Fair valuation and distribution, as I have already mentioned, is a very big issue. So if we have a proper and comprehensive regulation in place, that can be ensured that the farmer gets the proper value of his data. I would like to mention here that what we have seen during the course of this research is that there are certain piece of regulations available in NINA region in different countries, but they are not very robust. And what we have seen that they lack any kind of a regulatory framework as far as the governance is concerned. Although we have come across certain international regulations also, a few by EU and Australia and a couple of other countries. But I would again say that we need to have a more comprehensive regulations and laws in place. At the end, what we have suggested specifically for the NINA region, if I would say, that the regulatory framework, if possible, should be harmonized. If the NINA region is able to harmonize the regulatory framework, that would have a great advantage for them. And for that purpose, what they have to do is they have to engage diverse stakeholders. And if they do so, they will have an advantage of establishing a common standards. And by regional cooperation, I think ultimate beneficiary would be the stakeholders in the NINA region. So the bottom line, or I think the feedback or the takeaway would be the regulation should be framed in a way that they should not curtail the speed of innovation, but at the same time they should ensure that the rights and responsibilities are assigned properly so that the value of the data used and processed should be distributed to the stakeholders properly according to their rights. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Saifullah. And I think it's an excellent end of your presentation, but highlights, that there should be a balance, of course. Data is an important driver of agri-food systems transformation, of digital agriculture, but there should be a balance, between this driving force and between the other side, that this value that is created via data should be distributed in a fair and just manner, taking into the consideration of the interest of farmers, especially smallholder farmers. So I think your presentation was excellent from that point of view also. And just to let you know that later this afternoon at the FAO Pavilion, we are launching officially as well this publication. So please feel free to visit our pavilion after this session. And now I would come to our first lady participant. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation, Mansi Shah. I would like to kindly request you if you could highlight a little bit in your intervention what is the role of civil society in helping, the implementation of innovation and technologies that would drive the agri-food system transformation. So, Ms. Shak, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, and namaste, everyone. I would really like to thank FAO for inviting me here and giving me an opportunity to represent over 2.5 million poor self-employed women workers from the informal economy, the members of SEWA. Self-Employed Women's Association, SEWA, it's a member-based organization of poor self-employed women workers from the informal economy. Organizing these women workers for over 5 decades, we have seen that women, in addition to shouldering the household responsibilities as well as the responsibility of fulfilling the family's food, energy, water, and care needs, women also play a major role, a very significant role at all stages in the food systems, especially the agri-food systems. And yet, because of the socio-cultural and patriarchal norms, they do not have any voice or visibility in the food systems. And therefore, when we are talking about the role of technology and innovations in increasing the resilience of these workers, I would like to share a small story of one of our grassroots sister, Bhavna Ben, a smallholder farmer from Arvali district in Gujarat. And after sharing the story, I would like to bring out what are the learnings as a civil society organization in implementing technology. So what we have learned is that innovation is the coping mechanism for the poor, and the story of Bhavna Ben would clearly reflect that. So Bhavna Ben is our smallholder farmer having a land holding of less than an acre. and she grows fennel and cotton on this land. A very dejected Bhavna Ben had just visited Seva about 6 months back, uh, requesting Seva to help in mortgaging her land because she wanted money to uh, continue the education of her children. And what was the reason? The increasingly frequent climate shocks, the heat wave, the droughts, that was making agriculture more and more unsustainable and unviable for Bhavna Ben. Bhavna Ben is a very smallholder farmer and she does not have her own bore well. So she used to purchase water from the neighboring large farmers for irrigating her field. In the wake of the increasing heat waves, the requirement for irrigation in her field increased. But at the same time, the water levels have started depleting. And therefore, the neighboring large farmers refused to give her adequate water and also increased the price of the water. So it was like a double whammy. Bhavna Ben and her family could never afford this kind of extravagant costs in irrigation because of lack of because of inadequate irrigation. Her standing crop of fennel started wilting, and that is why Bhavna Ben was forced to mortgage her field. The story of Bhavna Ben was not just of Bhavna Ben, but of millions of smallholder farmers across India and the countries of the global south, and I think also Africa region. To address these challenges faced by the smallholder farmers like Bhavna Ben, Seva has harnessed the power of innovative science and technology. So, with support of Seva, Bhavna Ben piloted the solar pneumatic precision irrigation technology in her field. So, as usual, she purchased water from the large farmers, but now instead of flood irrigating her field, she stored it in a small farm pond that she constructed with the support of the government and stored it and then used the precision irrigation technology for irrigating her field. And what was the result? The solar pneumatic precision irrigation technology cut down her irrigation needs, water requirement by 50% and the cost in irrigation by almost 40%. In addition to that, her yield almost doubled. And in addition to these direct benefits of the solar pneumatic precision irrigation, there were also allied benefits like reduction in weeding costs, reduction in use of pesticides, fertilizers, and thereby overall reduction in her agricultural input cost. Now, taking this story, this is how innovation in science has helped small and marginal farmers. But taking this story further, science alone cannot help smallholder farmers. It has to go hand in hand with innovation in finance also. So the cost of the solar precision irrigation system that I just mentioned is over 1,500 US dollars, which a smallholder farmer like Bhavna Ben can never afford. So Seva has piloted an innovative financing solution, what we call the Women's Livelihood Recovery and Resilience Fund. It is a pool of blended finance, soft loan, grant, patient capital. So Bhavna Ben, Seva provided the irrigation system to Bhavna Ben at zero down payment, and Bhavna Ben would pay for the irrigation system only if the system profited her. So, and the pilot was a very big success. Bhavna Ben was able to pay for the entire 1,500 US dollar in just one season. So this is an example of how science and technology and innovation in finance can help in strengthening the lives and livelihoods of poor smallholder farmers. And the learnings are just to end. One is organizing is the key. If Bhavna Ben would not have been organized, her voice, her issues, her challenges would have never come to the forefront. Second, there is a very big role of partnerships. Partnerships with private sector, partnerships with academia, science, research, partnerships with financial service providers, governments. All these partnerships can help in strengthening the lives and livelihoods of the farmers. Thank you.
Very much. I appreciate very much also your presentation because it highlighted on a special case, of a smallholder woman farmer, what the role of technology is to increase her resilience and with that the resilience of agri-food systems, and what is the role of innovative financing. That's very interesting from this presentation as well. And again, the role of multi-stakeholder approach, the cooperation to tackle the challenges and to attain these goals. So thank you very much. It was very interesting. And I give now the floor to Mr. Zayed from Mauritania. He will speak in French, so again I will do my best now to give it back in English. Alors, Monsieur Zayed, vous avez la parole maintenant. Si vous pourrez parler en 5 minutes environ, je vous remercie. Paragraphe à paragraphe, je vais essayer de traduire. Merci bien.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Merci beaucoup. Je vais essayer de gagner beaucoup de temps pour compenser le temps de la traduction. Tout d'abord, il est apparent que les impacts des changements climatiques sont sans équivoque au niveau de notre sous-région, l'Afrique du Nord et le Moyen-Orient. Ces impacts se sont beaucoup plus accentués ces dernières années avec des extrêmes de changements climatiques, soit une forte désertification, ou soit une forte saison de pluviométrie et donc des inondations. Donc, c'est ce qui s'est traduit par une diminution exponentielle de la production. La biomasse aussi a été très réduite et il y a aussi la raréfaction des ressources en eau. Donc ça, c'est vraiment l'impact de
Yes. So Mr. Zayed is basically providing a situation. What are the effects of extreme climate change events in his country? The drought, flooding, very high temperatures, which are having a detriment effect on agricultural production.
Face à cette situation, en Mauritanie, nous avons mis en place un ensemble d'instruments pour atténuer les impacts. Il s'agit essentiellement donc de l'actualisation des conditions déterminées nationales qui ont été décidées par l'accord de Paris, que nous avons donc révisé et nous avons tenu compte de ça dans notre stratégie de développement agricole. Donc ça, c'est la première action que nous avons faite. Plus de cela aussi, nous avons mis en place un dispositif national de prévention et des risques et des catastrophes, des crises alimentaires et nutritionnelles. Ça sont pratiquement les 3 actions majeures que nous avons entreprises.
So he is mentioning in details the challenges of climate change, which is increased desertification in Mauritania, decline of crop productivity, degradation of water resources, and the shortening of the average duration of vegetative growth periods in agriculture. And in addition, we have a reduction in the productive potential of ecosystems in the whole country, and the reduction of arable land, because land is degraded due to climate change. And to tackle these challenges, Mauritania is implementing a national strategy.
Nous avons aussi mis en place un ensemble d'activités qui sont essentiellement l'extension des terres aménagées, la construction de barrages, des ouvrages de régulation des eaux superficielles, et nous avons fait développer d'autres infrastructures et nous avons beaucoup développé la recherche et le développement, et la filière semencière aussi pour trouver des semences qui sont adaptées au changement climatique.
Yes, and then he's explaining some measures that Mauritania is taking to tackle climate change. So, for example, the building of dams is very important. So, to tackle the water scarcity, and which basically collects as well the rains, and then it can be distributed later for agricultural production.
Pour résumer, en conclusion, nous avons en réalité introduit l'agriculture intelligente dans nos systèmes de mise en valeur, qui est basée sur l'augmentation durable de la productivité et des revenus agricoles, l'adaptation et le renforcement de la résilience, et la réduction ou la suppression de l'émission des gaz à effet de serre. Voilà, c'est pratiquement.
Okay, 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 thank you. So, and basically, with that strategy, Mauritania is fighting climate change, including reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And basically, because of short time, he could not flesh out more details of this national strategy. But I would like to invite you to look at the more details of the strategy on relevant websites of Mauritania, because it's very interesting. But then we go over to our next speaker, Nadine Gbossa from IFAD, and I would kindly
Vous avez une petite phrase quoi, pour mettre en exergue cette approche d'agriculture intelligente. Nous avons développé des systèmes d'agriculture en fonction des zones agroécologiques de la Mauritanie.
Yes.
La Mauritanie a plusieurs zones agroécologiques. Nous avons le fleuve,
Yes.
nous avons le Sahara,
Yes.
et nous avons donc pour chaque zone, nous avons introduit un système. Par exemple, au niveau du fleuve, on a introduit l'agriculture irriguée. Dans les zones sahariennes, on a développé le système oisien, le développement des oasis, le palmier dattier, l'irrigué. Et donc, c'est un peu ça notre approche.
Yes, so, and for example, one part, some addition to his intervention, that agroecology is very important in Mauritania. So they are building on the relationship of rivers and deserts, and they are collecting, water to provide water for agriculture production.
Je crois aussi qu'il faut, à mon avis, surtout renforcer les échanges entre les pays de la région en matière de développement et d'innovation technologique. C'est très important pour faire face au changement climatique. Je vous remercie.
Yes, and agroecology is one example how technology and innovation is how important it is in transforming agri-food systems. And I give now the floor to our next speaker, Nadine Gbossa, director at IFAD. So kindly, Nadine, if you could a little bit describe how you support technology and innovation, what international organizations like IFAD can do in this respect, in this transformation.
Yes, thank you. I think most of you know IFAD, and in here we take a kind of very specific angle. You heard a lot people here on the panel talking about smallholders. And talking about smallholders, this is basically the specific target group of IFAD. And when we talk about target group, I think it's a bit unfair when we know that there's about 570 million farms in this world, and about 85% of them are run by smallholders. And we know that they produce about 30% of the food. In developing economies, low-income economies, it's about 70 to 80% of the domestic food which is produced by smallholders. So in IFAD, we always say that without a smallholder lens, we cannot talk about a resilient food system, or basically kind of the end of the poverty, of the crisis we are seeing today. So taking that smallholder lens, IFAD is an organization which is basically dedicated to smallholders and basically a smallholder-based agri-food system. What do we mean by that? Is that we hear a lot about technology and innovation today. It's a reality. But we know also that it's a diverse reality across the world. It's not the access to the technology, to the innovation for resilience, for improved or highly performing food system is not accessible to all the farmers, the smallholders, the same way. And we know the situation they face in developing countries. Our target, our task is to change this reality. Because today, I mean, you see, you can even farm without land, you can farm without water, you can predict the weather, you can know when it's going to rain, and you still have parts of the world, like in the Africa region, where 90% of the agriculture is rain-fed, that basically you pray. You don't know if it's going to rain tomorrow or not, and your livelihood depends on it when we all hear that the technology and innovation is here to change this reality. It doesn't have to be this way anymore. So, I mean, I can speak about this for hours, but to cut a long story short, the number one, what we know is that innovation and technology has a cost. That most of the small producers, which again are the majority of the producers in the world, cannot meet in low-income countries. So our first objective is to make this technology and innovation accessible by putting in place what we call an agricultural smallholder adaptation fund, which basically provides financing to smallholders in order to access these technologies, which mean simple things like access to agricultural inputs, improved one, access to irrigation, not to depend on water in the kind of climate we have, also to adapt the farming practices. We also have put with the Green Climate Fund what we call iGrid Fin, where we work with the financial institution in order to provide green credit lines, green finance to smallholder, again, in order to finance the transition to higher performing business. Money is not enough, I mean, because this is kind of allowing them to make the individual investment that are needed to move to more resilient agribusiness. We know also that we need to work with the public sector, with the government, in order to provide, as we heard from Mauritania or Côte d'Ivoire, the services, the public services that the smallholders are entitled to. So this means also providing loans and grant to government for basically reviewing their infrastructures, meeting standards for resilience. It is also, we talk a lot today about the digitalization of agriculture. We are talking of digital agricultural services, where we know that extension workers are more and more scarce. It is also about digital financial platforms. It is also about e-commerce, e-vouchers, all the technologies that can make basically the connection and the connectivity and the digitalization accessible in terms of public services to the farmers, so that they can basically have access to more advanced technologies and also practice. I will also finish by saying that it's not only about production. We have a lot of emphasis on innovation and technology for production, but we have to realize now that even in developing countries, we don't just eat the food from the field. I mean, more and more people eat processed food today. So it's also about investing in processing technology. It's about investing in transportation technology. It's about investing in renewable energy. And what we are trying to do is basically making the financing available at the individual and the public level. But I can assure you that it's not enough. Only 1.7% of the climate financing reach smallholders, and that reality has to change if we want to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention, for which I'm very grateful, because basically you have arrived at a very core issue of this session and why FAO is participating in this world. You can hear me now? Sorry, yes. So I'm very grateful to the intervention of Ms. Gbossa, because she arrived at a very core issue of our session, and basically why FAO is participating in the World Investment Forum. So as you mentioned, technology and innovation has a cost to implement, you know, to tackle climate change challenges. So there needs to be a financing mechanism, including innovative financial mechanism about which we were speaking about. We have to have investment in agri-food systems, which is lacking now to a major extent. So there is a huge underfinancing of agri-food systems. There is a lack of financing, and that's why I think there is a need for a multi-stakeholder approach to increase this financing in agri-food systems, and that will be a major direction of FAO in the coming future. And of course, that is the main purpose of IFAD as well. So thank you very much for highlighting on those issues. And I now give the floor to our next distinguished speaker, Mr. Professor Dr. Zulfikar Ali, who is Director of Programs and Project Department at the Islamic Organization for Food Security. And I checked the website of your organization. It is highlighting very much the topics with which you are dealing, and I recognize that technology and innovation is something very important on which you are focusing. currently and the near future. So if you could kindly elaborate a little bit how your organization is helping in technology and innovation, what projects you are undertaking. I give you the floor.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Tamas. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, my gratitude to the FAO, especially the main office, for providing me this opportunity to come over here and interact with the galaxy of this agri-food systems. If I talk about a little bit more about my organization, this Islamic Organization for Food Security is a new organization, the specialized entity of the OIC, and it is working under the strategic plan having 5 pillars. One is the governance enablement, the second is the response to crisis, third is capacity building, industry development, and resource mobilization. There are 16 programs which are being implemented under these 5 pillars. Coming to the questions, if I say the agri-food system, basically there are 4 keywords which are, you can say, representing the sustainability and efficiency of the agri-food system. One is the attractiveness of the system for the next generation of the farmers. Second is the productiveness of the system. Third is the profitability. And fourth is the international competitiveness. These 4 key elements, they are working in the backdrop of this population growth. Then there is urbanizations, climate change, and certain other challenges. Looking to the sustainability of the agro-food system, there are 3 essential recycling of the resources. One is the water, second is the nutrients, and third is the carbon. So at the IFS, there are several programs which are addressing these challenges. Few of them is like integrated water management. There is climate change and resource management. There is strategic commodities and livestock ecosystems. At the outset, there is biotech and agri-tech development program, which mainly aims to foster the agri-techs among the member states. So in the bio and agri-techs, as the name shows, two major splits. In the biotechs, there is genetic interventions. First, if I speak from the genetic point of view, let's have a review on the historically. In the agro-food system, we all know in the green revolutions, there was the change in the plant architecture of the wheat and rice, which revolutionized this agri-food system. And if I give this importance and significance to change of this architecture is that before the Green Revolution, there were 10 famines in 250 years just in this South Asia. And after Green Revolution, there was no famines so far witnessed. So the upcoming one is also expected from the change in architecture of the plants to innovate and to make the agro-food system sustainable. And that change is like, for example, there are technologies in terms of genetics, the plant architecture and the leaf architectures, they are being changed. That the leaf traits, there are novel traits which capture the gaseous water and routing the water towards the root system, just recycling the water and helping the sustainability. And second is in the leaf system there is evapotranspiration efficiency, for the water use efficiency, there is photosynthetic efficiencies, and from the root architecture point of view, there are also nutrition use efficiency, and there is microbial interaction as well, and with the microbial genetic interventions, there are biofertilizer, biopesticides coming over there to replace the fertilizer itself, which are contributing into the greenhouse gases. So talking about all these technologies, they are already present in the world, and these are needed to be focused, and the investment is needed to expand this in the member states, particularly in those agro-food systems which are inefficient, particularly the OIC geography where water and soil resources are there, but both they are inefficient and they are not wisely and being used. Their usage is not as efficient as it should be. Like for the water, there should be some sprinkling or a drip irrigation system, but this is not much being used. And for the, if I say for the productive point of view, there is technology that the people, they are using the light spectrum, particularly a specific spectrum to have photosynthesis during the night, and the crop productivity that is being enhanced, and the duration of the crop is being shortened. So such sort of the interventions which can bring the agro-food system more productive and more sustainable, as well as it will be covering the food security as well. And coming to the water, as the technologies are there for the, as I mentioned, the sprinkling or the drip irrigation system, but there is artificial intelligence, IoTs, and there is also other such interventions where sensors and the satellite imagery that is being used for the next generation Persian agriculture irrigation system, like that is implemented in Turkey. And now they are scaling up to some other central states, especially the Uzbekistan, and these should be more expanded, and the IFS is focusing such sort of the interventions to expand. And my last point, that once we are bringing the technologies for the resource utilizations and enhancing the productivity, the sustainability lies in that how we are handling the soil. Soil resource is very important in the MENA region. Basically, the soil health is the second most important element after water, which can help to overcome the desertifications. And there are technologies like the hydrogels and these biochars interventions, particularly now the Iran is using, Germany has used, and it is getting more popularization in other member states as well, that how we can use this biochar for the water holding capacity, for the efficient utilization of the nutrients, and how it can be interacted with the fertilizer, particularly the biofertilizer. South Africa is having such interventions for the biofertilizers and the microbial intervention, along with some carbon recycling methods. So these are the technologies which IFS is looking, and as I mentioned, this is a new organization after the pandemic, this second year of our physical activities. So far we have conducted 2 high-level forums, and we have biotech forum as well as the advanced tech forum as well, to brought these technologies on board, and now we are looking forward that how we have to expand further. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your intervention, which was very interesting also from that point of view that it describes a wide range of technology. You mentioned from rice production and closing with fertilizers, and it's really a wide variety. I just would like to ask you that how you describe this wide variety of technologies and how you help farmers access these new technologies. If you could flesh out some of your projects in which you are helping them to acquire these new technologies, I would appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much. Very good questions. Basically, we started from the, as a new organization, we started with having some activities and having member states on board, that what are the challenges, what are the issues, and what strengths we have. So we prepared our strategy, how we have to implement further in the OIC. For example, I will give one example. In the OIC geography, if I talk about on the wheat, the topmost country is the Pakistan in the production. The topmost exporter is the Kazakhstan. Turkey is second most productive production and export point of view, and the high yield is from the Egypt. So we are developing consortia of these countries to learn from each other, identify the gaps, and to fill up the gaps, and then use the capacity of these countries to expand to other countries. Like we have a interest and wish list of the Mauritania, Tunisia, Niger, who are interested for the wheat development, and we are working on that. So our strategy is now that from the activities and the events, now we are proceeding towards the projects. This is our first year to move to the cluster projects, and now we have presented in the OIC strategic plan for the food security, and in that we are proposing to have model sports center where we are bringing the technologies on the one side, then investors, all the public-private partners, sovereign funds, and the member states, how to bring them into private-public partnership. In our understanding, as I explained, the technologies are there which we can review, which looks very ambitious, but its implementations and bringing them into action is a challenge. And this challenge can be if we cover up certain other challenges of the OIC geography. The alone are solely just investment, and this technology cannot feed the purpose particularly. I will talk about the governance, the policies, and there is the issue of transparency, and there is issue of the marketing in the OIC geography. So if the corporate farming, cooperative farmings, and covering up with the contract farmings, so if we come up with certain sort of the pilot projects, which we are working initially, as I told you, for the consortium countries, can we bring some big mega projects, giving attraction to the investors, bringing the technologies, and if we take an example of the Indus Basin or the Nile systems, so there is the land available which can be brought under cultivation, where we can bring the efficiency through the efficient use of the water resources and land uses. So if I talk about just in the Indus Basin, we can bring 7 to 8 million hectares of the land, and the climate and the weather is already friendly over there to have the production at the same level of production. We can increase at least 30% of the food items in the same agro-food system. So that's where we have a different sort of the options or the plans that how we have to move, bring new lands in the existing agro-food system, bringing the investors over there to invest and expand and bringing new technologies over there, and then going to the new places where particularly once we talk about the MENA, all the MENA countries, they are more vulnerable to the crisis. So the top priority of these countries is the food security. And for that, they are looking how their systems can produce food for their need, cutting the import and going towards the self-sufficiency. So that's what we are moving with the pilot projects.
Thank you so much for this additional information. And then I give now the floor to Matthias Tauber, who is the representative of the Boston Consulting Group. And I would ask you, if you could please flesh out, you are representing the private sector. So what is the role of the private sector to drive these new technologies and innovations? You are a consulting group, so what advice you are giving to private firms? What are the challenges and how they do overcome those ones, including this financial investment angle of this question? I give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Maybe to start with, so BCG is an organization of 30,000 people. Globally, we are operating across the world. I'm responsible for one of its 3 regions, the Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and South America. And agriculture is a key vertical for us, as I said to some of you before. So it's an important area. Some of you before have said that agriculture is going through a major transformation and it requires a lot of investment. We can only subscribe to that. I think that is absolutely happening. Agriculture is consuming about 24% of the greenhouse gases globally. So it's an important area to watch for there. It's employing 866 million people globally. So it's an important area also there. And all of these fields are changing. Workforce is short. Global warming is happening. Many things, many challenges are happening, so lots of investment in the first place is needed. That investment can come from multiple sources. We believe a lot of it can come from the private sector because there are lots of attractive investment opportunities existing. Now, what are those investment opportunities? You have asked, right? Now, we typically look at the space in 6 key areas. So the first area I would like to highlight is AgTech, so agriculture technology. What is this? This is an area where it's about, for agriculture manufacturers, sort of increasing crop yields, farmer productivity, save water resources by improving water usage. So it's the whole area where companies such as the John Deeres of this world provide solutions to many problems in the space. AgTech is the area number 1. A second area we would always highlight is the area of carbon farming. So this is where it's about improving yield resilience to adverse climate conditions, for example, or it's about preserving soil health and local biodiversity. Some initiatives have chosen to help farmers also with CO2 certificates. So it's a second super important area with lots of opportunities for private capital. Then the third area we always highlight is the area of biological innovations. So this is an area where companies innovate around, for example, crop ability to deal with adverse climate conditions. Fertilizer companies, others. It's a really important area where people will see opportunities. The fourth area I would like to highlight is aquaculture. It's an area where people seek to use fish as a protein and alternative nutrient source, but also other sort of sources of renewable inputs, algae, seaweed, others. Fifth, alternative proteins. I'm sure you've seen lots of the investment activity there. It's a key area where people try to find climate and environmentally friendly protein sources, and it's also about decoupling food production from resources. And then sixth and last but not least, it's about food waste reduction, where it's about avoiding and reducing food losses along the chain. So you asked about private sector investment. Those are 6 areas: agtech, carbon farming, biological innovations, aquaculture, alternative proteins, and food waste reduction, where we see things happening. Now, companies do different things there. Private companies, they can fund startups. Yeah, they can fund local companies. They can fund smallholders. They can fund many different areas and deploy private capital along those areas with different stakeholders to make things happen. Now, as BCG, we advise many, you mentioned it, we advise many companies along the entire chain in this. So, for example, we are advising agriculture companies in the agtech space to innovate about using digital there. We are advising fertilizer companies to become net zero, or we are advising consumer companies to source in a much more sustainable way. For example, we advised a chocolate company to source cocoa in a much more sustainable way. So we are contributing across the entire chain with many different objectives, including a strong sustainability angle. So that is, I think, to the question, where does the private sector see opportunities? I think, first of all, it sees a lot of opportunities, the 6 areas I pointed out, and then many special areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your intervention. And just a question to you. So you mentioned, thanks so much, the diverse technologies in which you are advising companies. I'm just wondering whether they have always the financial resources, so you give them, let's say, an advice to implement that and that technology, and whether you come back to you that it is fine, it would tackle really excellent real challenges, but I don't have the capabilities to finance that. So in that case, what advice you give them? So if you just could flesh out maybe one example of or whether these firms are always having the necessary financial means to implement these technologies?
So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I think that is the answer, right? Now, if the financial means sort of are not at the outset there, we help, for example, companies prepare business cases so investment actually can flow. So investors, typically private capital, they would like to see a business case, so we can help people get access to financing, but it does require, I think, a sound case and also an articulation of benefits. One area. A second area, it's the whole area of NGOs. I think we're also helping people to get access to NGO funding, but again, I think it is needed that when you would like to access NGO funding, that there is a certain case for sort of the benefits of the intervention also there, and we're helping outlining and making sure that that case also happens. So that is sort of to the question of how to ensure that capital financing flows into areas where it may not be available as readily.
Thank you so much for this clarification. And I just want to open the floor to the audience, whether you are having, any request or a question that you would like to pose. Just quickly, because we are approaching close to the end of the session, and we will have still a closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Dr. Bahman from Kuwait Fund. I just have one simple question. Since yesterday and today in the media, I read this technology and innovation. Till now, I read some of the literature around this room or this hall. Can you please, any one of you, define which technology you are talking about? We are, and especially this morning, and the lady here and the IFAD, they said about the small farmers. They are dominating the world. Most of the producers are from small farmers. So what kind of technology you want to provide them? Nowadays, some farmers, they have this cell phone. They contact the fertilizer suppliers, the extension services, This is part of technology. But it sounds so big, this technology and innovation. My concern is the small farmers. How can we help them? What kind of technology? Applicable one. And thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an excellent question, and as the technologies are quite diverse, I think for all and each technologies we could, I think, organize one session, but it's very good your question as well from that point of view that you are highlighting, that basically here our discussion and the projects and the programs should target smallholder farmers. So I'm wondering which panelists would like to try to answer that question, and then we proceed to the closing remarks. So yes, please. Okay, I give to the two women, and then it will be an excellent gender balance, because at the end we will have a closing remark from our director, I mean the head of the regional office in Cairo. So I give the two ladies the floor.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the excellent question. Actually, our experience working with women, poor women, has shown that technology, when given in the hands of women, they know exactly how to use it to strengthen their existing livelihoods. And therefore, what we also see is that technology should be such, when you ask what kind of technology development in technology should be such, it has to be need-based, demand-driven, and bottom-up. It's something which should address the issues and challenges of the grassroots workers. I was just talking to this gentleman, Mr. Mohteen, from a private sector company. He's a scientist and they are researching technology. And the biggest thing what we were talking about is, which struck me, is that there is a need for the companies, the researchers, the technology developers to interact with the users, the smallholder farmers, to understand what are their challenges, what are their issues, and the technology that needs to be developed has to be developed in such a way that it addresses that. It has to be bottom up. It does not have to be top down. Thank you.
Yes, I understand the bottom-up approach, but we also have to realize that the world is moving so fast with new technologies that small farmers don't even know, don't even have access to, don't even think about, and we have the right, I mean, I'm saying we because, I mean, I'm also coming from a small farming community, to access those technologies, even if we don't know them, because you cannot ask what you don't know. So when you say what kind of technologies you are talking about, to kind of join you in what you say, I like to distinguish them in three levels. There's first of all the basic technologies, and we know that they are needed for more efficient farming. It's basically just access, for example, to marketing information. It's just digital payment, or it's just weather information. And as you said, it's about using a mobile phone, and we know that this can be done at a low cost. You have more intermediate technologies, like today you have basically digital financial services online, you have extension services. I mean, we talk about digitalization of agriculture, like I was saying, which is not highly sophisticated, but we have progressed enough that today farmers can have weather information, a farmer can have market prices, they can have different of information online, which rely on technology. You talk about renewable energy, solar energy. It depends on where you are and which part of the world. And now we have the revolution, where you have artificial intelligence, where you have drone, where you have geospatial technologies. And this is where I say that these things are available today, and they have to be brought to the smallholders, because they give you information on whether, I mean, on climate risk. They allow you to map the land. They allow you to know when to plant, when not to plant, when to water, not to water. And we need these technologies to be made available to the small farmers. And this is what we are also trying to build, that bridge, that the wonderful digital revolution that we are seeing today must reach, I mean, the farmers where they are, even if they don't know about it and it's not demand-driven. Let's offer those services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadine. In fact, it was so that Nadine is delivering a closing remark, which she kindly refused, but I think that was an excellent sum up of the panel discussion, which was really excellent and very interesting. So for the closing remark, I would like to ask our regional representative, FAO representative for the Near East and North Africa region, Dr. Abdul Hakim El-Waer, Assistant Director General of FAO, to deliver the closing remarks.
Thomas, my voice is clear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I followed the discussions very closely. Let me first thank your invitees there, the speakers, and mashallah, you got a good mix of expertise coming from different backgrounds. I see people coming from countries such as Cote d'Ivoire, Mauritania, representing the official public sector, but you also have the Self-Employed Women's Association, and you also have private sector as well, including consultancy. I see the BCG there. I see some of the multilaterals here as well, including the Islamic Organization for Food Security, as well as the Inter-American Development Bank, and a big consultant group, including the Boston Consultant Group as a consultant firm, and IFAD, as well as our good colleague Dominique from our liaison office in Geneva. So we thank you very much for putting this up together. It's very comprehensive and very intensive discussions on a topic that is really vibrant and extremely important. And maybe in my closing remarks, I would say why, especially for the region, but this is now applicable for the rest of the world. The challenges that we face today are tremendous and multidimensional. And me and Ahmed Mukhtar, who has put the whole thing together here, tried in a short time to find a formula or an equation to simplify the challenges around food security. And we've identified what we call the ACT equation, the ACT or ACT equation, which is built around 4 main pillars for food security, are challenges by 4 Cs. And the solutions can be found in 4 Ts. And the 4 A's are food accessibility, food availability, food affordability, and food adequacy, which we mean by nutrition, so nutritious food. The main challenges on the 4 Cs are climate, conflict, and calamities, which include all the economic crises, the earthquakes, the floods, the wars in the Black Sea, and all these calamities that happen, and the COVID-19, and then the consumer habits and culture of how we consume food. The solutions that can be addressed in the 4 Ts start with T, technology, and then trade as an enabler for food security, and then tapping on local resources to maximize production, which also needs technology, and then we come to the trends in terms of how we consume food. Now, looking at this big picture, and based on the discussions that we've had, technology can be seen from different perspectives. And I'm just putting an attention to the latest intervention and response by our lady speaker, a member of the panel there, on the technology that she alluded to, which is mainly the digital technology and the accessibility. She's very right that small farmer holders do not have access to technology information. They don't know what exists elsewhere in the world. And this is by itself is a burden. So they don't know what solutions have been provided in the form of technology for the challenges that they face every day. So for them to access technology is a must. And that's, I regard it as not as a technology provision, it's more of an infrastructure and a must infrastructure where they should have accessibility to the wider base or bank of information, which is the internet, and how can this be simplified for them to know what technology is available to do what for certain challenges. Then the other one is in the format of the small farmer holders. Now, the question that came from the floor was referring to the small farmer holders, and I fully agree with that question, and that should be the focus. And the reason is that today, based on our assessment, 70 to 80% of the total global food is still produced by small farmer holders. Regardless of all these big firms and big investments, there is still more than 75% at least produced by small farmer holders. Now, this is the most vulnerable communities of all the farmers in the world. They are the ones that are very vulnerable and sensitive on the impacts of climate change, on the impacts of droughts, floods, changes. Just a shift on a rainy season can basically render them without harvest at the end of the season. And the focus should be on those ones. And now when we focus on those ones, there are people who are usually on a much less level of education. They cannot deal and handle high-level sophisticated technologies. So they need some form of structures. And this is a call on the public institutions. The public institutions that are supposed to handle policies and provide support, they need to look at that dimension of technology, of providing a certain infrastructure, a certain institutional arrangement. It's very important, where farmers or small farmers can share some technologies. Some of these technologies are so expensive that they cannot be afforded by small farmers. So they need to be shared on a time basis based on a cooperative setup or an association setup among them. Still, there's a role here for the public institutions to build these institutions that allow these farmers to interact and benefit from each other. There is also an element of the technicality. Some of these technologies, once it's received by certain agricultural community, they may not be able to operate it, but even if they do, they may not be able to maintain it. So you still need a bit of support for those technologies. Now we have to understand that the need-based aspect of technology is not easily attainable. You still need the research and technology developers to interact with these communities first to understand the challenges, because these communities do not have the means to develop the technologies themselves. So somebody else who developed the technologies have to interact with the small communities of farmers, understand how they do business on a daily basis, and then think of technological solutions that help them. These technologies has to be also tagged to the local context. So it's important that some technologies that are applicable in parts of the world like North America may not necessarily be applicable in other parts in the Middle East or North Africa or the other part of Africa or Asia. And it's because of what else is available as infrastructure that allows you to use, develop, and maintain such a technology. But we've seen that the challenges that we have today, there's less water availability with water scarcity growing wider in the world. There's climate change impact with the change of patterns of rainfall everywhere in the world. There is extreme weather conditions like drought and floods that hit parts of the world. But we shouldn't forget that there's increasing by the day population of the world, which means increasing demand on food production. So there's a high demand. And there's also urban expansions, which goes at the cost of arable lands. So we're getting less lands arable for agriculture, less water, but there's also more demand on them. There's no way that we can continue business as usual, produce the food that we have been learning to produce for the last maybe hundreds or thousands of years. Some of the countries in the region still use the same methods of the old hundreds of years flood irrigation, for example. We cannot afford to use it anymore, and we have to look for alternatives. But not just that, the harvesting method, if we want to maximize productions, has to improve and has to be technologized so that it can also produce on a timely basis at a good quality. Now, this is all gets complicated with the competitions and market, competitive on quality, where to market what, how do you add value to your products if you don't use the proper technologies. I think those are the areas that where we may need to focus, and I see from the interventions throughout the panel that a lot of these aspects were highlighted, importantly from the level needed to big firms, that they probably can afford themselves to develop certain technologies and use them and maintain them, to the need of the small farmers and the marginalized communities so that they become competitive in their productions and they can sustain their livelihood. I would like to thank you all for your participation and thank the audiences for their follow-on contributions. And we assure you that a lot of your inputs and knowledge sharing today will form the basis of a lot of what we will do moving ahead from FAO in terms of translating it into our programs and projects. And a lot of this will go to the policymakers for advice that will probably shape some of our interventions in some of the regions in the future. So I thank you all for this commitment and assure you that all the interventions will definitely be beneficial for what we will do together in the near future. Thank you.
I thank you so much, Mr. Assistant Director General. We appreciate these closing remarks, and with that we arrived at the end of our session and the panel. So thank you very much. I propose some applauding of the panel. I think it was an excellent discussion. Thank you so much.